Hello and welcome back to Deny the False. It has been a while since my last video. Please forgive the quality of the microphone here. It is on my old laptop. At some point I do have to invest in some better equipment. Tonight I thought I would talk a little bit about a distinction between so-called gurus, and I don't want to suggest that anybody should go out have a guru or that that's right or wrong or anything. I think authority is a problem, but a point I want to make is that as I watch on Facebook and YouTube, a lot of people who are into religion or spirituality, they'll tend to listen to, read, watch a lot of gurus and religious figures. We'll take, for example, is on the screen here, Mooji, Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle, Ramana Maharshi, J. Krishnamurti, Adyashanti, and they go on, and there's a lot of Facebook gurus now. And a lot of people seem, when I read posts or watch YouTube videos, people seem to say, well, they're all saying the same thing in a different way. They're all pointing toward the same truth. They're all in this spiritual state, and because of their personality differences, they express it differently. And while there may be some truth to that, we all express things differently because we have different cultures we come from. We speak differently. Some of us may be more analytical, others more artistic, so there might be a different expression of the way we say things. But this notion that everybody is saying the same thing, and what I found about Krishnamurti and how I think he stands out, and again, this is my opinion, I think he catches the real subtlety of the traps that we're in, because the traps are very subtle. That's how they're traps. They're not obvious. The trap, and there might only be one or two big ones, but it might show up in different ways. But traps are subtle. You don't know you're in them. That's why you fall back in them. You know, if I keep walking into the same hole, it's because I don't see it. I may be thinking, oh, I got to be careful I don't fall into a hole, but because since I don't see the one that's right in front of me, I fall in again. And I think it's the same way with these spiritual ideas. So I'm going to just take a small example. This is going to be very short. But Mooji is very popular now, and I've been watching Facebook, and there's some controversy coming up about him maybe abusing his position and involvement with young women and this and that. And, you know, and I'm just wondering, yeah, these things are a problem potentially, but what the real problem is that we're not paying attention, we're not awake, we're not taking responsibility and saying, I've got to get clarity within myself and actually see something as true or false and face facts. Because if I can do that, then I'm not relying on authority. And I think this is what Krishnamurti put forth, and I found it to be true for myself. Not that I always practice it perfectly, but when I get into trouble, I find that's because I'm going away from that. I'm not looking. I'm not paying attention to what's going on. And it might be I'm getting too involved in other people, what their opinions are and what they say and what kind of air of authority they have. But this is something Mooji says, no thought has any power. You have power. And when you identify and believe in the thought, you give power to the thought. All right, so we have this statement, and I don't want to get into splitting hairs or nitpick, or I really want to consider that there might be a distinction here between what Mooji just said and what Krishnamurti is pointing out here as a danger. Krishnamurti says thought is so cunning, so clever that it distorts everything. He's saying everything, and I think he really meant everything, for its own convenience. All right, now, is it possible that in spirituality, somebody even like Mooji and me or anybody can fall into the trap of believing that there's thought, and then there's you, or Eckhart Tolle may call that the space of consciousness. So they may call this you, this real you with a capital Y, the absolute consciousness, and then there's thought. See, there's you and thought. So the thought doesn't have any power. You have power. Well, Krishnamurti is saying that's a trick. You are the thought. You are the program. You are I too. I'm not pointing at you. I, you. But when Krishnamurti is speaking, he would say, you are thought. You are that. Now it's funny because Nisargadatta Maharaj has a book called I Am That. And it's funny because it's kind of true, but what do we mean when we say that? Well, according what Krishnamurti is pointing out is we're this lump of confusion and memory and conditioning and emotional baggage, and and it's all tied into the nervous system and our emotions. But thought is running this whole thing, and then thought projects this idea of a you, some absolute that's beyond thought. And the gurus push this, and what happens if I go to Mooji, I'm feeling bad, I'm caught, and suddenly Mooji starts talking to me, boy, I start to feel some relief, don't I? I start to feel better. Wow, what a relief. I'm not all of these thoughts that are driving me insane. There's this, I can step aside, I can distance myself from it and just be this you or this absolute. And then I don't have to give power to the thought. And that's a division. I mean, everybody's talking about non-duality. Well, there's a duality right there. Duality in the name of non-duality. There's now a you and a thought. And I just want to point this out. I don't want to do a big dissertation on it, but based on some things I'm seeing on Facebook, I'm not saying anybody's wrong or pointing out corruption or abuse of power, but if we could really get to this key question about clarity, and this goes to religion, it's the same thing. If you go to church or you're listening to Joel Osteen and he's telling you how you listen to his podcast and you're depressed and you feel bad, and suddenly he kind of pulls you out of it with all this fancy language and telling you that you stand in God's glory and God loves you. And I think all this spirituality is just another form of that, maybe more subtle. It gets more into ideas of absolute consciousness instead of God, man in the sky, but it's basically the same thing. It's like a delusion. It's tricking ourselves into thinking that no, I've already transcended. See, there is this me. I am enlightened, and all these thoughts are happening, and it's just happening. And to me, it's just I don't think we're being serious when we fall into that, and it's a wake up call. So, just my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Thank you.